What's up, y'all? My name is Alexis Paris, or you can call me AP. And today I wanted to make a video about softness and how remaining soft equates to strength and not weakness. I'm sure you've heard of soft girl era and sayings like that being thrown around. And I started to think, what does it mean to be in your soft girl era? And what does that look like? For everyone, that could look a little bit different, but there is a common ground when it comes to softness. And ultimately, softness is a choice, right? Because we all deal with our own trials and tribulations. And if you're a person that has dealt with or been dealt a very hard hand and dealt with a lot of hardship and challenges, then you're more likely to come off in a more hard, very masculine manner. You become more closed off, you become guarded, you become uninviting, and just a lot more resistant to open yourself up to others, because you are essentially trying to protect yourself from being hurt again. It is a natural reaction. I think it's important to reevaluate what or how that can impact your life as you continue to move forward. It's really hard to maintain interpersonal relationships when you have a certain demeanor about yourself. And I'm speaking from experience. There were times where I was going through situations that I felt like other people could not relate to. And instead of confiding in those people and letting them know what was going on, I was more likely to shut them out and isolate and kind of go into like this little dark hole. The thing about doing that is it gets harder and harder to pull yourself out of that when you don't have people around you supporting you, or even people around you that are aware of what's going on in your life. And that's not to say that you should over-explain what's going on. You shouldn't feel the need to reveal things to others that are really personal to you. A certain level of privacy is necessary in life. I'm not saying that you have to tell people every single thing that's going on. If you are somebody that has close people around you, whether that's friends, family, partners, etc., having a certain level of transparency, and that could look different for everyone, but an example is, hey, I'm going through a hard time. Something happened with X, Y, and Z. I'm needing some time to process. Or, hey, I'm going through a hard time. Something happened with X, Y, and Z. Can we go out and talk about it so I can get your feedback? That is strength, because you're taking your situation that's not that great and that's negative, and you're alchemizing it into something that could ultimately be a lesson so that you don't have to experience that again. But sometimes it's hard to learn the lesson without receiving feedback, at least from people that you trust and that know you. There's more strength in being vulnerable than there is in closing yourself off. And there's a balance there. There's times in seasons where you're going to want to be more vulnerable, and there's times in seasons where something is just really tough and you just need to take a step back from the feedback, kind of like I mentioned in my last video. If you haven't watched it, please go watch the video. It's called How to Remain Authentically Yourself When Facing Adversity. And I essentially touch base on the same thing, where you have to discern between when and when not to communicate certain things with others, and when not to be open and receptive to feedback, because sometimes you just need to sit in your own energy and work things through, but other times you do need that external, not validation, but you need the external feedback so that you can use it to process and make a decision for yourself. So then we go into softness, right? So, okay, you went through hardship, you decided whether or not you need to receive feedback or whether or not you need to spend time sitting with yourself to process what happened, how do you remain soft? How do you actually live and execute a life that radiates softness and that encourages that soft girl era that we hear about so much? How do you do it? Obviously, I'm not an expert on everything, so I would say honestly do some research on some coping mechanisms that can help you be more open. If you ask me what softness looks like being kind. And kindness is a spectrum, but essentially kindness is remaining neutral and treating everybody with respect. And it's easier to say than to do, because sometimes people really push buttons or instigate or trigger or hit sensitive spots, and it's a lot harder to be kind in those moments. But kindness is something that you must give to yourself before you can give to others. If I'm not treating myself in a kind manner, then I'm more likely to treat someone else in a negative way. Treating somebody in a negative way, I'm likely to be treating myself in that same manner behind closed doors. Treating myself with love and compassion and understanding, then I'm more likely to treat others in that way as well. So it really does circle back to how you are engaging with yourself and what thoughts and conversations you're having internally, externally, and how they're impacting how you feel. If you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, right, you're more likely to get upset at someone or communicate in an unhealthy manner with someone than if you wake up feeling bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to go, ready to execute your day. There's just a difference in your vibration. Energy is transferred, so you're more likely to transfer that to another. And we're human, so you can't fault yourself for slipping up. But if you notice that you are in a pattern, that every time something happens or something similar happens to you, you react the same way, then we do have to do some self-reflection and figure out, why am I reacting this way? What is the root cause? What can I do to react in a better way moving forward? Now, I also want to put a disclaimer out there that softness is not only for women, right? Men can also be in their soft boy era or their soft man era, whatever you want to call it. And that's simply by approaching it in the same way when it comes to not projecting whatever negative situation is happening in your life onto others, because you're not willing to do the work to process what's going on with yourself before you interact with certain people. We all have feminine and masculine energies. I find softness does fall closer to the feminine side, but it's not solely for women. It's for both. You can be a man that has a softness to them. You could be a woman that has a softness to them, and vice versa. You can be a man that has a hardness to them, and you could be a woman that has a hardness to them as well. There is no one side or the other when it comes to that. But the work looks similar for both sides. No matter if you identify as a man or a woman, or if you're non-binary, it doesn't necessarily matter in this example, because the point is, are you willing to overcome your situation while still remaining open, vulnerable, kind, compassionate, etc.? So I think one of the first things that I discussed earlier is that you have to process the hardship, the challenge. That can look like therapy. That can look like walking, running, exercising, physical activity, period. Journaling, meditating, yoga, engaging in social activities. It'll look different for each individual, but being willing to work through that situation in a way that's healthy. There's ways to go about it that aren't healthy, And if you ask me, that looks like overindulgence. And overindulgence can be anything: video games, alcohol, smoking, sex, going out all the time to avoid your responsibilities. It can look different, but it is an unhealthy way to process hardship, period. Like, it's something that temporarily makes your body feel good, and then you're a lot more likely to still feel negative about your situation because you didn't fix anything. And therapy isn't an automatic band-aid and then everything's okay. Yoga, stretching, mindfulness is not an automatic resolution. It's something that you have to consistently practice for it to become effective. But I will say, if you are consistent in any healthy coping mechanism, you're a lot less likely to be taken out by a situation that challenges you. Once you become consistent in that area, it becomes a lot easier to remain soft. It just does. On days where I'm really into my self-care and nourishing my body and doing check-ins with myself to just kind of chin check my energy and see where I'm at and see what I need, I'm a lot more likely to engage with my loved ones in a positive way, to where my situation isn't the star of the show, right? Because if you think about it, when you interact with people and your situation and your hardship becomes the main topic each and every time, that's draining. You turn connections that are supposed to be relieving and fun and beautiful into therapy sessions and venting sessions. And like, while those are necessary, it can't be the sole foundation of any relationship, because then that's just freaking therapy. And I don't know many therapists that want to do that for free, because there's a lot of work that goes into therapy. And really the work still starts with you, so you can project and vent as much as you want. If you're not willing to do anything about it, then that's all it is. You're just talking about it. That's it. But to remain soft, right? To be in an argument and still show up with love and care and compassion and not disrespect the other party. To have a bad day and not feel the need to explode on somebody else because your day isn't going as planned. To still be willing and able to show love to people that you care about, despite the fact that things may not be working out in your favor right now. That's softness. This isn't the way that you have been operating, then there's going to be an adjustment period where you're simply just going to have to just gauge different things. What's triggering you? When are things likely to go bad? How are you reacting to those things? What are you doing to nourish yourself consistently? Because hardships are going to come regardless. So you may as well just create a routine that is sustainable, so that when they do come, you already are in motion. I spoke about routines in my last video as well, where it's like, if you're in a routine and you're waking up every day around the same time doing similar things, similar tasks, it's a lot harder to be distracted because you are too busy, right? And that's not to say that you should be so busy that you're not processing, but you should be busy enough to where you're still doing the work. The processing naturally comes whenever you settle. Whenever your day is done, whenever the checklist is complete, you are going to process. Your body is going to let you know what's going on with it. And that's where the softness comes in. That's where the coping mechanisms come in. Because if you can cope with the fact that, oh man, today was rough, I should go take a bath. Oh man, today was rough, I really could use a nourishing meal, a tea, whatever. It'll reflect in your next day. We don't talk about how the way that you end your night impacts the next day. If you neglect yourself the night before, you're more likely to wake up feeling neglected than if you nourish yourself the night before. You're more likely to wake up feeling great. And I just encourage anyone who's watching this and who does desire to live a more soft life, to start there. Start by nourishing yourself and thinking about your future self. Don't think about your current self, right? Because your current self might just be going through it. Your current self might just be having a hard time. Your current self might be having a mental health day. But what can you do to ensure that your future self has a higher quality of life and is able to move in softness? That's like the question of the video. That's the question of the video. And I encourage you to answer that on your own time. I highly encourage you to figure out what you need to remain in your soft girl era. What does that look like for you? And how can you execute? And how can you move in an open, vulnerable, compassionate, and kind manner? Because it's not only for the people that you interact with, it's for you too. It's just like affirmations. It's just like anything that you feed yourself, right? Your body filters through it and it's either negative or positive. What can you do to ensure that a majority of what you are feeding your body and mind and spirit is positive and is something that allows you to remain in your softness? That is what I want you to reflect on and figure out for yourself. I appreciate you for watching. I hope this video made sense. I hope it helps anyone who's just tired of being hard and mean and letting their situations define them. I want you to make an effort to take your power back because it's so important. There's so many different people in the world going through so many different situations that we don't always know about. It's not always shown on a surface level. So it's really important to make sure that you're interacting with people in a positive way, because you never know what somebody's dealing with, and you don't want to be that person that makes somebody's situation worse or that makes somebody feel worse about themselves. I encourage you to put energy out there that you would want back. As always, I would love to end the video with a quick little meditation. So if you are willing to stick around for that, then I encourage you to do so. And we will start. So we'll start by closing our eyes. Again, I like to allow y'all to really get in tune with yourselves first, and then I like to guide you after that. So for about 1 minute, we will meditate in silence, and then I will guide you through it. Let's go. So you can start by closing your eyes, and I want you to follow your natural breath. And just take a moment to feel where your body is at today. Maybe taking note of any places that are extra tense and making it a point to release those areas. And with your eyes remaining closed, I encourage you to just, again, take note of any places that have tension, and I want you to breathe into those parts. Some areas that I encourage you to pay extra attention to: the brow bone, the area behind your eyes, your jaw, your shoulders and your back, your chest. Are you taking shallow breaths? If so, I encourage you to deepen your breaths. And today, I just want you, during this meditation, with your eyes still closed, to take note of the different sounds in your environment and to pay attention to those sounds. What do you hear around you? What is calling to your attention? How do those sounds make you feel right now? When we meditate, it's not likely to be completely quiet, internally or externally. So it's important to acknowledge what's going on around us and then to shift that energy back into ourselves. So after a moment of engaging with the sounds around you, I want you to take that energy and give it back to yourself and to focus inward. Feel your breath rise through your chest and release through the belly. I want you to take 5 more deep breaths. Deep breaths with very obnoxious exhales. I want to hear your exhale. And before we wrap up our meditation today, I want to do a small eye exercise with you. I like doing this exercise because I experience a lot of tension behind my eyes. So what you're going to do is squeeze your eyes shut very, very tight and then release. And that's not to say release and open your eyes. You can release and open if you'd like, but you can actually keep your eyes closed throughout this whole exercise. And we can repeat that a few times together. So when you're ready, squeeze, 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 squeeze your eyes really tight. Don't do too much. And then release. Continuing to follow your natural breath, we'll do it again. Squeeze. Release. Squeeze. Release. 2 more times. Squeeze. Release. Last time. Squeeze. Release. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes. I hope you feel more calm and willing to move forward in a way that pulls you into softness. And if you have any suggestions on any videos that you would like to see from me or any topics that you would like me to touch base on, please comment below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you next time. See ya.